Nothing can come of nothing. A phased peace plan with a ceasefire is nothing when it's nothing. Updates on the Gaza peace plan, or whatever that is. Russia still pushing Ukraine into blackouts. The UN is in financial ruin. My perspective on what's happening with Iran now, and this immigration ruling that Travis flagged last week that you all are going to love. All that on the Foreign Report. Let's go. Welcome back to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you all the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. I am your foreign policy curious host, Seena Ghaznavi, along with Travis Irvine from Columbia Journalism School. Hello.
Hello. No Columbia gear today. All Henry Zebrowski gear and Celsius.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor yet.
But we got this new studio.
Give it up for Adam and the staff. Look at this.
Big shout out to Adam and the staff and everyone that helped out on this.
It looks so good.
It is the same space, people, but reimagined.
It feels bigger, honestly.
It does.
Love
a wide shot. Look at my pants.
Yeah, we can show off our these are my kicks. I got these last year.
Oh, yeah.
Look at these shoes.
Full bodies. Look at that. We're doing a little hang. I could kind of curl up.
You can sit like that.
I can curl up.
Like you do when we hang out at your place.
Gotta tell me everything.
It's going to, in the summer when we have to wear shorts, it's going to get less. It's either going to get less or more sexy. I don't know.
My hairy legs will be out and about.
My hairy legs will also be out and about. Yeah. We have no choice at that point.
We're having to do some leg days.
Yeah. We'll get on it. We'll get our trainer on it.
Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, foreignreportshow.com, the4reportlpn@gmail.com. I can't wait. Ooh, I love this chair situation, guys. I can't watch
The chairs are definitely more comfortable.
Watch the YouTube or the video on Spotify. It looks really, really great here. Yeah. Kudos to the whole team. I just got back from Costa Rica.
I love that. How was it?
I'm a little congested still because I have a 3-week child.
You probably got
cold.
that super flu. It's like a 2-week thing.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It was going around the Midwest.
These monstrous children try to murder me once a year. Anyways.
Your children, though.
Yeah.
You're allowed to call your children monstrous.
Yeah. It's a term of endearment.
Right.
But I was in Costa Rica for my cousin's wedding. It was awesome.
Congratulations.
And Costa Rica had, first of all, beautiful country.
Yeah.
We're in this place called Nosara, which is like this little nook that is more expensive than anything else in the country. Rather,
checks out, yeah.
Because it's like a big tourist destination. But Costa Rica, during the 3 days while we were there, had a presidential election.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
And
so you got to see everyone voting. And it's not like the controversial ones in
Honduras.
No one voting.
I was
Salvador.
on the beach. Yeah. No, there weren't rihiots or anything like that.
Right.
Or anything like huge uproar. But it was a big deal because in Costa Rica, they only do one term.
Oh, per president.
Per president.
Man, ooh, I agree with that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, wouldn't it have been nice?
Yeah.
But then we would have, you got to take the good with the bad. We would have only had Obama for one. We would have only had FDR for one.
Sure.
And then it's like...
I remember Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush became friends. I mean, and H.W. obviously a one-term president because he was beaten by Bill Clinton. But they became friends after their presidencies, and they were like... Every president should get 6 years, one term, and that's it.
That's a great idea.
Because you accomplish what you want, and you're not focused. Because the last 2 years of your first term, you're just already running for re-election, so they don't matter anyway.
It's such a great idea.
Yeah. So
I think that's the way it should go. So Costa Rica, and you know me, I'm asking every Costa Rican guy I'm talking to, who do they like for president?
Oh, there, yeah.
And they were all like, I hope it's not Laura Fernandez.
Oh,
who ended up winning?
Oh,
she's a hard right. She's a hard right candidate. She ran on Law and Order. She was kind of handpicked by the previous president, and she's a 39-year-old political scientist, and is the second woman to become president in Costa Rica. So this is like, yeah.
I mean, that's how it is there. A lot of hard right candidates have been winning in Latin America and South America lately.
Yeah.
But Costa Rica, for anyone who doesn't know, I've done comedy there.
Yeah.
2016 and 2017. And, it was pretty much Americanized during the 80s because they actually offered incentives for Americans and foreigners to retire there. But you need to have a certain threshold of income or retirement income coming in. So they kind of opened their doors to the West as opposed to some of the other countries. You think of your Venezuelas, your Cubas, obviously, really shutting foreigners out. So Costa Rica kind of has maintained stability while their neighbors, are various coups and things like that happening all the time.
Everyone's so kind there. I don't think they have a military.
They do, but it's very small. It's like literally just like a federal police, kind of like in Mexico.
Incredible.
Yeah, and there's enough, again, foreign people from Canada, everywhere who speak English, that there's enough people that we were able to do multiple comedy shows for charity, me and these Canadian comedians in 2016, 2017.
I love it.
Yeah, shout out to Costa Rica. Laura Fernandez, don't F it up.
But you know what? You got one term.
Right. And that's the thing. What kind of damage can she do
keep it
in one
moving.
term?
So it's nice.
Yeah, I do like that.
Okay, let's talk about our first big story, which is
not Costa Rica, not the sloths.
Nope,
We're not going to talk about sloths.
By the way, I saw no monkeys.
Oh,
no sloths.
Well, you got to go where they are.
Yeah. They didn't come to me.
They weren't invited to the wedding,
which is unbelievable.
Right. Well, the sloths were invited to the wedding. They just couldn't make it in time.
I know. Well, there's.
Sometimes I crack myself up on this show.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Listen, ceasefires are supposed to be
ceasing fire,
stopping violence.
Yeah.
Supposed to be about a period of peace, not trapping people.
It's 2 words.
In endless violence.
Ceasefire put together 1 word.
And the Gaza peace plan is a lot more like, it's like when my kid puts on Blippi, but then I'm like, okay, fine, this is one. But then it's like he never stops, and now I'm cooked.
Right.
Or it's like a Diddy brunch that you can never leave. Right? Sure. Or it's like, turning on what you thought was just a Netflix show about hockey called Heated Rivalry.
I thought this show was about hockey.
Yeah, now you're glued to this international hockey players going to Pound Town.
Woo. And that's not a city where they play hockey.
No,
it's a different city.
It's a pounding city of towns and butts. Anyways,
I've heard of it. I won't watch that show.
Listen.
I don't have Netflix.
It is crazy what's happening over there. We've not covered it. We have a limited show, folks. Okay, we're not going to be here all day. Okay, we spent 10 minutes talking about Costa Rica already.
That was very nice, though. I think it's a palate cleanser.
It is to get you ready for the real.
This is real stuff. Let's get into it.
There's violence all over Gaza. There's violence in West Bank. Mm-hmm. There's violence on Israel's northern border with Lebanon.
Yep.
It's all over the place. So the ceasefire was meant to do a few things, right? And we just said them. Like, stop the large-scale fighting, pause the airstrikes, allow the humanitarian aid in, and then open the door for, negotiations about the prisoners, the hostages, the governance. All that stuff was supposed to be out in the air. But now you have this gray area, these gray zone infractions, which is what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And so if you've been wondering about how all of these things work together, what's been happening, what are the violations that have been going on, and then what's the reality? Stick around, hang out, come with us. So even during the ceasefire period, Israeli has continued to do airstrikes. Not at the same degree as before, obviously, as during, but they're still continuing.
Right, and limited, targeted.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're targeted.
Sure.
They're saying they're weapon sites, the command figures. They're framing them as law enforcement. We all know what a law enforcement action looks like from our perspective.
Not good.
But from the UN's perspective, from Egypt's perspective, from Qatar's perspective, these look like breaches or even war crimes.
Right.
Because civilians have been killed, police officers have even been struck, and then residential areas have been hit. And they're going to say, well, Hamas is embedded with all these places. Sure, I get it. And you know what? Hamas is sending rockets over as well. Those are still things that are still happening.
Still happening.
But you know what? At the same time, it's the classic proportionality issue that we're faced with here.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I punch you in the face and then you level the entire neighborhood.
Right.
It's like, it's a real problem here.
Right. And if nobody's even trying to cease the fire, then it's just going to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so aid's coming in, but it's not coming in very fast.
Okay.
Reconstruction materials like cement and generators and communication equipment and clean waters and reliable, all that stuff is all over the place, and it's all controlled by the IDF. So these are things that are also really frustrating. And like the other like gray zone infractions that I was observing and reading about, listen to this.
Okay.
Drone surveillance.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing that really like makes my hair stand up.
Okay.
Sonic booms from the Israeli fighter jets.
Oh, no.
So you can imagine.
So it's like audio.
You're like a little kid.
Yeah.
Walking around in like occupied Gaza, and you're like, oh man, like thank God the bombing stopped, and then you hear boom, and you think something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then if you're a shipping vessel or if you're a fisherman out there, you're getting harassed by the Israeli Navy along the coast.
Oh man.
So this is pressure management, right? If you keep people destabilized, they're
Right.
easier to control. They can't actually mobilize any sort of resistance effort
Right.
against you. And
Keep
so-
them on edge. Keep them anxious.
But this is also what creates an environment of extremism as well.
Yeah.
If you push people to an extreme, you can't be shocked when extremism comes back at you.
Right.
And so this is the constant problem that keeps happening there. And then Lebanon.
Oh
The
boy.
Northern Front. There is an actual UN resolution, 1701, that they're supposed to be following.
But
They're not.
okay.
It's like there's little operations that are happening, assassinations that are happening. I don't know. Who's left in Hezbollah? I don't even know.
Right.
West Bank, here's the thing that's also insane that's happening at the same time. And meanwhile, Israel has used the distraction that we've all been going through with Epstein files, with domestic issues with ICE, even with the uprisings in Iran. They've been making moves in the West Bank. And so the ceasefire obviously doesn't apply to the West Bank, but there's been a huge surge in Israeli military raids and settler attacks in the West Bank.
Gotcha.
And like UN organizations and humanitarian organizations have like thousands of incidents that have been reported about this stuff. So it's crazy what's happening there. I don't know. What do you make of how should America be responding in a perfect world?
I mean, in a perfect world, we would have had peace decades ago, which would have been great. You know, you think of every single president comes along. Jimmy Carter tried to handle this. Bill Clinton. I just remember so many, presidents standing there, and there's two other guys, and they're shaking hands. And so in a perfect world, this would have been handled a long time ago.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking of our modern world where it's like Trump's probably like seeking out casino and hotel space along the Mediterranean, you know?
And like all these little things that keep popping up, these like little pieces of violence and these little small like an olive farmer gets their crops raided and stuff like that.
Right.
That's going to make social media news a little bit here, but it's not going to bubble up to like the state level, right? So these little things, which are not little to the people they happen to, of course, create this like cultural destabilization for that area, and it allows for Israel to do the Greater Israel project that they've been pushing for, which is basically annexing the West Bank.
Right.
Which for me is, I don't know, like I have plenty of grace to give for so many different sides of all of these different conflicts all around the world. If you want to annex the West Bank, that's an extremist position.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most extreme thing you could possibly do.
Has been. Yeah.
It is like, I can't even get to like any sort of, it is, you read in the religious book that all this belongs to you.
Right.
And so that's your Zillow. And you are just going through
Zillow
it.
not mentioned in the religious book.
No.
Right.
But apparently,
But now a modern day version.
modern day, updated 2026
Zillow. Yeah,
version.
Yeah.
And then like they just opened the Rafah crossing for people, but not for aid. And that's probably going to, by the time this episode drops, so we're recording on Wednesday, by tomorrow, that could be closed. And they're using, Israel's using a lot of humanitarian aid as leverage.
Yeah.
For all of this. So there's political negotiations and hostages and all these different things that they're using aid as a form of leverage with them. And so, you can look at this in a bunch of different ways. They've occupied Gaza and they've just destroyed these people and their homes. Mm-hmm. And you could also look at it as Hamas has been a terrible steward of the people that they represent.
Right.
And I hate Hamas. But at the same time, no one else has fought for the Palestinians other than Hamas.
Sure, the modern version.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Because they've been in control since, 2005?
Yeah,
Somewhere around there?
Was it 5 or 7?
In the 2000s, yeah.
And so it's like, there's no one else.
There was Yasser Arafat before him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was fun.
And then we'll get to later we'll be talking about Iran and stuff we'll get to how there's a lot of people that were like, oh, Iran is anti-imperialist, all this stuff. I'll get to that.
You get to your algorithm.
Yeah, I get to it.
Explain to us what's happening there.
But the bottom line is this is not a peace process. I mean, it's a system of controlled violence that is just bubbling under the radar. And I think what I'm reading from a lot of nerdy analysts and stuff is that this will not hold potentially. This is hollowing out the peace process.
So this is either going to blow up again, or it's going to just kind of fizzle out. Do you think the Palestinian people just give up at some point?
Well, I think it's you can't kill an idea.
Right.
This is the thing that every major power has hubris around, is that they can kill the idea.
Right.
And frankly, I think people like Hamas also thinks it can kill the idea of Zionism. You can't.
Right.
It's an idea.
Right.
So it's it's going to be a real tough battle here when they have all the resources. And, Chuck Schumer was just at a Israeli conference saying that he's doing everything he can to get Israel the resources they need. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Trump. So there's it's all green lights still from the United States perspective.
Right.
The question is what's in it for Trump?
Right.
As long as Trump feels like he's getting something out of this all the time.
Right.
I don't see it.
And he's got Kushner and Wickoff on the case out there.
Thank God.
Right.
Bebop and Rocksteady. That's good.
Great Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference. Yeah. I had both of those toys. So what do we do?
No, this is nothing. We just sit in this sweet clubhouse.
I do love the new clubhouse.
And we come.
At least we are more comfy. These chairs are very comfortable while we're talking about this terrible stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I feel more comfortable. A slight recline.
So we just keep our eyes on it, though. That's kind of the idea.
I think so. I think when you're looking at it, and again, there's the velocity of information has gone down quite a bit. But remember that things are still happening over there.
Right, because it's not in my algorithm as much as it was because we've got everything happening here. With
people only have a certain amount of attention. Yeah. And there are so many different things that are fighting for it. But also remember when things pick up again all of a sudden, ask yourself why.
Right.
Why is this coming up again?
Right. And last question on this. Do you think this kind of feeds into, like you're just saying, there's so much happening right now, the Steve Bannon ethos of flood the zone? Right, where it's almost like Benjamin Netanyahu can kind of now he has some more flexibility to do because he knows Americans are preoccupied with what's happening.
I think we should all remember that every state has a media budget.
Right.
Like any company that's doing a big PR rollout, every state has a media budget and they will use it to influence. And it's very easy to create content and game these algorithms, right?
Yeah.
And none of these things fly in the face of the terms of service or anything like that, so they're not going to get kicked out or whatever. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
And so these click farms or whatever you have it's I don't know. I think it's flooding the zone for sure.
Yeah. And like you said, everyone only has so much attention. My Instagram is all ICE. My Facebook is all Epstein.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Epstein stuff seems to be popping up.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling we'll get to it with a future guest coming up next week.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows he loves to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so do I. So here we go.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's happening in Russia. Let's just talk about what
around the grounds,
around the world,
and back here.
Here we go. This is the Foreign Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine.
Hey.
Whoa. In the clubhouse. Full bodies.
Full bodies. I got to cross my legs so people can't see how chubby I look.
Watch the video. I can't help myself but like curl up like this. It's really fun.
It is very fun to see you all. It's like you're at home. Again, I'm just like hanging out with Seena at his house.
Listen, let's talk about something terrible again.
Oh, okay, great.
And let's try to make it bearable.
Let's try.
So Russia-Ukraine update.
I remember when that was a story in my feed too.
God.
Boy, the algorithm's really busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Busy not helping your life.
No.
Shortly before trilateral peace talks were to take place in Abu Dhabi on Sunday, Zelensky posted on social media that the talks had been postponed until later in the week.
Wow, Zelensky. He's still a person.
No further details were released, but the news came after previously an unannounced meeting between U.S. and Russian officials took place in Florida. Steve Witkoff, representing the U.S. in Florida, said, quote, he was encouraged by this meeting that Russia is working towards securing peace in Ukraine. And just after, Steve Witkoff met with Hannibal Lecter and reported back that he's full.
Wait, what?
And not hungry anymore. Did you know that?
Wait a minute.
Thanks, Steve.
You snuck in a joke.
Uh-oh.
Hannibal Lecter is not a real person, despite what President Trump, when he was on the campaign trail.
Yeah, he
the
did.
late, great Hannibal Lecter. God, remember those speeches? Everyone was like, what the hell are you talking about?
was just
he
fun.
said it in multiple speeches.
They were fun bits at the time.
So Hannibal Lecter in this scenario is the fictional character.
It's like, what are you doing, Witkoff?
Yeah.
Russia's going to tell you whatever they want to tell you, so you go back and just do.
Yes, of course. Right. So you're saying this Witkoff guy may not be qualified for the job he's doing.
So what you're saying
There's
is
no pushback like the Anthony Blinken days.
Yeah, because right after that, Russia went and just bombarded Ukraine with a ton of missiles, struck power plants, and they're trying to freeze it, which they've been doing for a month.
Because it's winter there as well.
They've been targeting power grids and hospitals with babies that are being born are dying in Ukraine because there's no power.
Wow, what is going on with this?
Temps in Ukraine are currently below zero.
Oh my God.
And the Ukrainian energy minister called it, quote, another Russian crime against humanity. But again,
Steve Witkoff's on the case.
he's on the case.
He said they're gonna fix it.
I kind of think he's like Inspector Gadget, but without any gadgets. But at all the like,
Just inspector, but he's not even inspecting anything.
he's not even inspecting.
He's more like Droopy the dog. Remember Droopy the dog? Yeah. And you would like play a detective, but he wasn't. He was just a dog.
We gotta find what cartoon is this?
Is
man?
Witkoff. Yeah, folks, if you have any recommendations on what cartoon Steve Witkoff represents, I mean, he's Trump's like development guy, right? They're both into like hotels and stuff.
It's the same thing. He keeps putting people that have no idea how to do this job
Right.
in, and then what they look stupid when they come out and say these things. Like, okay, let me even give a lot of grace to Steve Witkoff or to the person in this position. Let's say you are completely unqualified.
Right. But you've been given this job.
You at least got to know that Russia's full of it. Like they are
Right.
not a rational actor in this situation. Like they're not someone that you could just come out and be like, well, I trust them. Like it's so strange.
Right.
Like you would at least know.
Well, and I kind of have a similar question as in the A block regarding Israel. It's like, again, it's like if everyone's attention spans are on domestic issues right now.
Yeah.
Is this again, Vladimir Putin feels like he's got the same flexibility as Netanyahu to just do horrible things.
Whatever he wants.
Because, again, Ukraine has not been in my algorithm for months, I feel. Even though, clearly, terrible things are still happening there.
It's just crazy.
So Witkoff is basically giving carte blanche to Putin and Netanyahu.
Yeah, Putin's like, hey, did that last bombing trend on Twitter? Nope. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah, that's brutal. Because it's very cold here right now, at least in the Midwest, not in LA.
Yeah, like
I wore a tracksuit and it was like 75 out here. And I'm like, wrong day, wear a black tracksuit. But it's very cold in the Midwest, back in Ohio.
Yeah.
Everyone's dealing with that. And so I could not imagine. You look at the footage from Minneapolis, it's cold. And so now Ukraine, their hospitals are getting the treatment from Putin.
Here's what else is cold. The United Nations bank account.
Oh, no.
Freezing.
You're saying, hold on.
Yeah.
This is the group that's supposed to be solving our problems.
Nobody.
They're going bankrupt?
They sent a letter to 196 member nations. The Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the UN is set to run out of money by July.
Yikes. That's in 6 months.
If that happens, they would have to shut down the New York headquarters, which I know a lot of New Yorkers are probably like, good, good. The traffic.
Oh, I'm sure Trump's got his eye on that property too.
Exactly.
Turn it into a hotel.
So they would have to call off the annual General Assembly and largely cease responding to humanitarian crises around the world. So why is this happening?
Yeah, why is this happening? They got 196 member nations. Come on, everyone chip in. It's like a potluck.
So some of them are not paying.
Oh.
And so this happens a lot where people kind of pay whenever. Apparently, like, Russia and China always pay late. They pay their dues late, which is kind of funny because they like classic like Russia-China move of just working the system and just paying at the last possible moment.
Right.
But there is one member state that has 95% of the money that's owed that's out there.
Okay. Go on.
Who do you think?
I'm looking at it.
It's the United States.
It's us.
$2.2 billion.
Yeah.
We owe the United Nations.
Damn.
Venezuela owes $38 million. I don't think you're going to get that money.
I don't know. They're a little preoccupied.
Here's
right
a
now.
note to the UN.
Yeah.
Venezuela ain't going to send that money.
Yeah.
They're not going to Venmo. So the voting rights.
Moselle?
So here's the thing. If you don't pay for 2 years, you get your voting rights suspended.
Okay.
So, like, Venezuela can't vote on things. Afghanistan owes $646,000.
That's not that much.
Here's another quick note. You're not going to see it.
What?
The Taliban's not going to Venmo or PayPal or crypto you that money. Ecuador, what's up, Ecuador? They're in review, $2.6 million. Bolivia, $886,000. They got an exemption, so they're okay. So they got, like, I guess, put on a payment plan.
Sure.
So this is like the operating budget of the United Nations.
Right. So every country pays to be a part of it.
And obviously, the United States is not paying, and they're probably going to ask for other countries to pay more and all this other stuff.
Right, like we did with NATO.
Yeah. So this is the fundamental problem that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that's kind of funny about this. Like, yes, United Nations, all the countries, right?
Everybody.
But the United States is the leader of it.
Yeah.
And Trump's been trying to do this Board of Peace thing.
Right. He's trying to switch it up.
To be like, we're the new United Nations. But no one's going to do it. This
Right.
Greenland thing that he did ruined it.
Oh, God, that's right.
Not like it was going to work anyways.
Right. And he wanted, like, everyone to pay $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Up top.
Yeah. It's not going to work.
I mean, Afghanistan can even do 646,000 right now.
Yeah. I mean, the Taliban's not going to send you any money.
No.
This is like not a thing they're going to do.
Come on.
So I guess, like, the thing that Trump's doing is he's not going to pay his bills, which is Trumpian to his core.
Yep.
And he's going to do it until, like, the last possible moment. So, like, June 30th, they'll wire the money or something like that.
Oh, right. Until they get that 2-year threshold.
But the U.S. actually owes another $1.9 billion for just peacekeeping operations. Because we're the United States is the leader of what we thought was the free world.
Right.
But this whole pivot to being not a global society, but like a spheres of influence society,
Right.
makes it so that we don't care about peacekeeping operations anywhere else. Anywhere. We don't care about peace in America.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So we're not putting any money towards peace.
No peace.
No peace.
But he's the peacetime president.
Yeah, he is. Give him that prize.
Who needs peacekeeping
withholding
missions.
the money because you didn't give me the peace prize.
Yeah.
You didn't say I was #1 peace guy.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Look at that. I mean, if Trump showed up in like full hippie gear, like long hair, like glasses, the peace, like full John Lennon, still wouldn't be a peace president.
Still.
No. That's brutal. So we're withholding $4 billion from the UN. And so what? July, they're just going to sell the building for parts?
I mean, when I first read this, I was like, I hope when people don't pay, there's like punishment, and there is. There's like you can't vote. There's like some like a mild amount of shaming that goes along. But if you're the United States, it's kind of like what Mark Carney said. If you're part of the global rules-based order, it really just benefits you to just not follow the rules.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister.
Yeah,
yeah, and then also I think a bigger thing. Again, talking about Trump and his style is like dismantling a thing and then waving a shiny thing over here, be like, peace board.
Yeah.
And so if the UN goes away, where do all these countries go who believe in that order?
I wouldn't be surprised if someone else came in and tried to support this. So like I've been reading a lot about how the EU actually struck deals with India. They just struck a trade deal with India that took like 2 decades to do. They did a deal with a bunch of South American countries that took another couple decades. All this Trumpian stuff that's been happening has sped up the negotiating process for other countries to make alliances and trade deals.
Right, because they're starting to imagine a world order where the United States, and our dollar probably are not at the front and center of it.
So those countries are making deals. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, I don't know, the EU could come in and, I don't know, these are member states, so I don't know. Other people could come in and try to take the leadership mantle.
Right.
And everyone else would be like, okay, fine.
Yeah, because they like the UN, in theory.
Yeah, other countries don't have $2.2 billion to just, like, throw to the UN.
Right.
And, like, we had a vested interest in peace around the world because our economy is a global economy and we benefited the most from the global economy.
Sure.
And so if we don't care about that anymore...
Nobody does. Well, somebody might. We'll find out in July.
We'll find out.
Just in time for my birthday.
All right, 2 more stories. Iran.
Never heard of it. Do we talk about that at all in this show? Got him.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
Trump pushed all these people to go out into the streets, take over your institutions, whatever.
We have your back.
We got your back.
As if he's ever had anyone's back, except Jeffrey Epstein.
Help is on the way.
Right.
You're worse than Obama.
Woo! Get him.
For the Iranian people, you are worse than Obama because what you clearly did now, or what it seems like, is you made people go to the streets, die, like a stadium full of people are dead now, so that you could use that as leverage in your, quote, art of the deal and make a nuclear deal that you get to say is your Trump nuke deal.
Oh, no.
Which is what he always wanted to do.
Right. And it's still the same deal, basically, that the Obama-Biden administrations had also brokered.
Watch the, all the stuff is going to be the same shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same shit, and it's just going to be Trump's name on it.
Yeah.
And, like, I cannot tell you, even this morning, the videos that I saw in my limited amount of, like, time that I spend on these platforms.
You turn the brick off.
I turn the brick off.
And then brick back on.
And then I'm like, oh, God. I saw Iranian police running people over with an SUV.
Oy.
Like, not even like reckless.
Like, not even like honking the horn,
Not
please
even
get out of the
reckless.
way type style.
Aiming the car and hitting people.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I have the blood and the bodies. And it's just, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And so I know it's a conflicting position for a lot of people to be in, to not want U.S. intervention. But someone needs to intervene and help these people.
Right.
This is unreal.
Yeah.
And I have a personal vested interest in like it because it's personal to me, and there are crimes against humanity that happen all over the world that deserve some sort of intervention. But
yeah,
this is just shakes you to your core.
Yeah.
And now there's still the Abraham Lincoln is parked outside there. They just shot down an Iranian drone. Witkoff
not this guy again.
Yeah.
The guy who can't solve any problems? He's trying to solve this one too?
Wickoff, he met with Netanyahu this week. He's pushing for, like, again, another Iran deal. They want to meet in Istanbul, so they have, like, Israel there. They have, like, all these other people there. But Iran wants to meet in Oman and just have, like, a one-on-one with U.S.-Iran kind of a talk. But again, it's going to be about nuclear talks. It's not going to be about changing the regime. Look, Trump even said last week, do you want the regime to change? He goes, no, I don't want the regime to change. No, I just want no nukes.
That's what?
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't care.
Right.
He does not care.
Oh.
All you people out there that thought he's the savior, you're crazy.
Right. You're crazy and you're wrong. Even though he did post it on Truth Social, so you'd think it'd be the truth.
It's just...
Right.
I fell for it.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a moment, and I had hope. Mm-hmm. And I said at the beginning of this, I'm not allowed to have hope because every time I have hope, I am let down and it happened again, and here we are.
Right. That's the lesson from today, everyone. Don't have hope. Hope is for dopes.
Hope is a dangerous thing, Danny.
It is. But sometimes it's all we have.
Hope is all we got.
So.
All right. That's Iran. I want to cover this one piece of news from a immigration judge, or from a federal judge.
Yeah. I mean, talk about hope. This gave at least 330,000 Haitian immigrants some hope this past week.
This is good news.
We finally have some good news.
Don't tell us
everybody.
we don't talk about good news.
We have at least one piece of good news.
We got good news.
Right here at home.
This is incredible. In a scathing and surprisingly sarcastic order, a federal judge has temporarily barred Christy, Ice Queen Gnome, from removing TPS, temporary protected status, from Haitian immigrants, after noting that Gnome had declared Haitians seeking refugee status in the U.S. were, quote, killers, leeches, or entitlement junkies.
Brutal.
Okay.
I mean, and keep in mind, Haitians have had TPS protection since 2010 when an earthquake destroyed their country, killing over 200,000 people. And so, 330,000 Haitian immigrants under that TPS in the United States. And of course, as I mentioned last week, 15 to 12,000 in Springfield, Ohio, which of course got put under the microscope during the 2024 presidential election for not real allegations that they were eating pets. So, I know this from my own backyard, Springfield, Ohio. People were bracing for an ICE influx coming up if this TPS actually ran out at the beginning of February. But this judge stepped in.
Yeah. United States District Court for the District of Columbia. This was a case. And this opinion is hilarious for lawyers, but also for people.
Please tell me why it's hilarious. Because again, this is the hopeful part of the show right now.
Let me get excited. Let me rearrange myself into our clubhouse seat here.
Right.
Okay. So when you write an opinion, it's the words you put, but it's also how you structure everything, right? And she wrote this memorandum opinion, and this is the opening, and I'm going to read it to you. You could also see it on Spotify or YouTube as well. Now, I'm going to walk you through just the opening. I'm going to read it, and just think about this if you're like the lawyer for the government and you're reading this.
Okay.
On December 2nd, 1783, then Commander-in-Chief George Washington penned, quote, America is open to receive not only the opulent and respected stranger, but the oppressed and persecuted of all nations and religions. Okay, she opened a 2026 immigration memo opinion with a George Washington quote. Okay,
ooh,
already starting off. The older quote you get, the more you're trying to make a point.
And if it's founding fathers, extra bonus points.
Extra, because then you're like, you've lost the plot.
Yeah.
More than 2 centuries later, Congress reaffirmed President Washington's vision by establishing the Temporary Protected Status TPS program.
1990.
Okay. See, it provides humanitarian relief to foreign nationals in the United States who come from disaster-stricken countries. Haiti, okay?
Sounds important.
It also brings in substantial revenue. Oh! With TPS holders generating $5.2 billion in taxes annually. Yes. Look at those last 2 sentences. Disaster-stricken countries, and it brings in a bunch of revenue. That's her first paragraph. This is 5 sentences. ethered. I mean, this is like so. There's no fat on this paragraph at all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a lean, mean paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then she screenshot pastes Kristi Noem's tweet.
Ooh. What? I didn't know you even could do that in a legal opinion.
Yeah. In color, Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Kristi Noem has a different take. She said different take.
Brutal.
This is the tweet.
Yeah.
I just met with the president. I am recommending a full travel ban on every damn country that's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Our forefathers built this nation on blood, sweat, and unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, or snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them, not one.
Founding fathers were immigrants.
And she just spent a paragraph quoting the founding fathers, quoting how they bring in money, quoting this is like actually a fundamental principle of our country.
Yes.
Oh, I mean,
Savage.
just incredible.
I'm gonna guess this judge is smarter than Kristi Noem.
Oh my God. And then she goes on to describe the TPS holders that are in question, that are trying to be removed. Okay? And she says they are not, it emerges, quote, killers, leeches, or entitlement junkies. They are instead, and here are the people, and again, I apologize if I mispronounce their names, Fritz Emmanuel Leslie Miot, a neuroscientist researching Alzheimer's disease, Rudolph Civil, a software engineer at a national bank,
Wow.
Marlene Gale Noble, a laboratory assistant in a toxicology department, Merica Merlin Laguerre, a college economics major, and Wilbram Dorsenville, a full-time registered nurse. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I'd like to see who's in Kristi Noem's family and what their jobs are.
Oh.
Because I can tell you,
Yeah.
I would put these 5 Haitian TPS holders up against Kristi Noem's entire family. That's right, Kristi.
Boom.
I'm bringing your family into it.
Wow.
I'm bringing your family into it.
Your family is on notice.
Yeah.
He's just got at least one kid who brings home the puppies. And then she kills the puppies.
Oh,
I know
that's
that much.
right, the puppy.
Yeah, remember Kristi Noem?
Was it a puppy?
It was like a puppy.
It was a puppy.
I mean, a dog, puppy, it's all the same
Well,
thing.
it's all the same.
Yeah. And that's what they say. I mean, again, this judge is gone national, but at least in Springfield, Ohio, that's what they've always said, is that the Haitian immigrants saved the economy there.
Yeah.
They took the jobs. I think as Dave Chappelle said in one of his comedy specials, the Haitians were doing the jobs of the white people were either too lazy or too addicted to opioids to do.
Yeah.
And they saved the economy there.
It's incredible. And there's 330,000 Haitian immigrants that are...
Nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Where are
it's
they
like-
supposed to go? And that was the other thing I think was also an element of this decision is that when they sued to counter this ending of TPS, TPS, it's a legal standard, right?
Yeah.
And to say that Haiti is safe to go back to is the reason why they were saying we can end this TPS. And Haiti ain't safe.
Yeah.
It's
Wyclef
like-
is there. You gotta be vigilant.
Wyclef Jean he was at the Grammys this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, the Fugees. Well, the ones that aren't in jail, which is just Laura Hill and Wyclef.
Yeah.
Wyclef. They were at the Grammys. Pross is in jail, unfortunately.
Bras, check out Fraudsters. We cover all the Fugees.
And I told you, I edited a documentary for Pross.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Yeah, he said I looked like Brad Pitt. What's in that movie where he's high all the time? True Romance.
Oh, True Romance.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
I look like Brad Pitt in True Romance. And I was like, thanks, Pross.
Thanks, Bras.
He's a great guy.
Listen,
Well, good news. We had
did
a
it.
piece of good news.
we did good news.
Oof.
Good news from the clubhouse. Wow, I'm just sitting like this now. This is how I sit now.
I love it.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, when we come back, it's everyone's favorite. JD Vance Quarter. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with the phone report. Welcome back to the phone report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi. Travis Irvine is here.
You sound so relaxed.
I am very relaxed.
It's been such an intense show. I'm glad you calmed down during the commercial break.
I think it's good to calm down because we're going to ramp it up for...
Give him a chance, it's JD Vance. No, wait, he sucks.
Club Remix Edition.
go!
Wow.
Wow.
Love
Wowie
it.
wow.
Please.
Well, we talked a lot about Steve Witkoff today for some reason because he's doing a lot of
Lots of Witkoff.
lots of wicking off around here. You get it. The facts are that somebody else used to do this foreign meetings, and that was JD. But somehow he's been taken off that job.
Ooh.
Right? Because when I first started coming on the show about a year ago now, that's when JD was going all over the world. Right. He was the foreign dignitary for the administration. I think they are still sending him to Italy for the Olympics, but that's a more harmless job.
Yeah.
Now Wickoff is doing the big jobs. You want to know why? Trump actually thinks JD Vance is incompetent. Seena.
Oh, who would have thought?
And this is the thing about Trump. He accidentally tells the truth all the time, right? He lies nonstop, but then now and then he'll accidentally be like, say exactly what's happening. Yeah. He's like, well, I won't tell you what's happening, but here's what's happening. Yeah. Let's play this clip when somebody was talking about Tim Walz, but he recounted watching JD and Tim Walz debate back in 2024, and I think a little nugget of truth slipped out, as it does now and then with old Donnie T.
Over the fraud scandal in the state.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man. I thought that from the day I watched JD destroy him in a debate. I was saying, who is more incompetent, that man or my man? I had a man, he had a man, both incompetent. And
oh my God!
There it was.
Oh my Lord!
They're both incompetent.
I have not seen that. That is incredible.
Isn't that fun? He accidentally called JD. He was like, who's more incompetent? They're both incompetent.
And you could tell that he paused for a second and thought about, there was a moment where he was like, am I going to keep going with this? And he was like, absolutely.
Of course, there's no stopping that train sometimes.
Wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Who is dumber? Who is more incompetent?
Yeah. Well, and this ties in perfectly because JD was incompetent. We were just talking about the Haitians, right, in Springfield, Ohio.
Wait a minute. Let this simmer with everybody for
this is a great transition.
Okay, lay it on me.
And I have a feeling, I mean, honestly, find the clip. It exists, and you can just watch it over and over and over.
I just want everyone just to take a moment
to know.
And just let that soak in.
Let it soak in.
That JD Vance watched that. And
he was there. He was in the room.
He was in the room, and he felt it, and there's no way he didn't feel off.
Right. Let's just slow zoom and play the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. Bum, 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 yes, but it does tie in well to this story that, honestly, this happened a couple of weeks ago now. This is the beginning of February, so this is just at the end of January.
Okay.
And I had kind of missed it. This was actually not on my radar, and I want to thank everyone for sending me your JD Vance clips. That clip in of itself was actually sent to me by a listener. But tying into the Haiti stuff from Springfield, Ohio, right? Eating the dogs, eating the cats.
Oh, right.
It was completely made up. And JD Vance, you may recall, after that, he actually went on CNN and said, I have to create stories to get the media to pay attention to what my constituents are concerned about. Therefore, admitting that he makes up stories. So that is kind of part of what ties into this story that I had missed from the end of January out of Minnesota, that Vice President J.D. Vance relayed a crazy story on X about protesters mobbing immigration and border patrol officers in a Minneapolis restaurant following Alex Pretty's killing. This is what he said on X. This has 22 million views. He said, when I was in Minneapolis, I heard a number of crazy stories, but near the top of the list was this one. A couple of off-duty ICE and CBP officers were going to dinner in Minneapolis. They were doxxed and their location revealed, and the restaurant was then mobbed. The officers were locked in the restaurant, and local police refused to respond to their pleas for help as they've been directed by local authorities. Eventually, their fellow federal agents came to their aid. This is just a taste of what's happening in Minneapolis because state and local officials refuse to cooperate with immigration enforcement. They have created the chaos so they can have moments like yesterday where someone tragically dies and politicians get to grandstand, like you, J.D. Vance, about the evils of enforcing the border. The solution is staring everyone in the face. I hope authorities in Minneapolis stop this madness. Here's the thing, Seena. This story is not true.
Oh, my God.
Completely embellished from what was, as usual, a real, actual filing that came from the immigration officers in question. So what happened was these ICE officers went into an Indian restaurant, which is already hilarious because it's immigrant-based cuisine.
Yeah.
And basically it was after the Pretty killing, and it was only a couple of them. And according to the owner of the restaurant, none of this happened. They basically ordered their food, someone had seen their vehicle outside, and they do have this, especially after the Preddy killing, there is, again, a network of residents who are like, well, we have ICE in this area.
Yeah.
So some of them had gathered to just go and confirm that the vehicle was there. But there was no locking of the doors. Like the ICE officers said that someone came and locked the doors, and like 30 people gathered outside and were all looking at them and filming them and everything. And then the ICE officers were trapped and they couldn't get out, and they called Minneapolis police, and Minneapolis police never showed up. Again, all that's not true. The Minneapolis police, basically, when there's only like 2 people, they're like, we don't handle it.
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't come to aid because it's not in their protocol. And also the 30 people outside, it wasn't 30 people. It was far less than that. And they weren't doing anything. They were getting pictures of the vehicle, and that was it.
But I think the big thing here is no one locked the door.
No one locked the door.
That's the huge.
That's huge, and that's
the dramatic moment.
And that's the restaurant guy, the owner of the restaurant. He even said, "I reviewed the security footage. No one went up there to lock the door." Yeah, so the restaurant owner said the 2 men came into his restaurant around 8:30 p.m. and were discussing why so many restaurants in the area were either closed or offering takeout. The owner was like, well, it's probably because there's a bunch of ICE activity in the city.
Exactly.
It's like, wow, you're the only place that's open. We don't know why. So
what Neanderthals?
I know, and so it's just weird because Tricia McLaughlin, who's doing all the Department of Homeland Security, she's the spokesperson, so she's doing their professional lying. They basically back up this. I mean, you got to call it a false report. I mean, believe it or not, the ICE officers are embellishing their reports, saying it was 30 agitators, and they called for reinforcement in the sheriff's department for assistance. And then as more people arrived, the doors were unlocked and they were able to leave. But it's just like, again,
this is the thing, though, too, that people should realize is like when officers lie on these reports, their standard is the report. Like they don't,
right?
Like it's hard to refute those reports unless you have security cam footage, of course. That's like no one
did that. Yeah, exactly.
No one did that. But it also speaks to if there's a self-defense situation where they're claiming self-defense and they say in the report, I was afraid about this or I was afraid about that.
Yeah.
I thought my life was. Then they just go with that, and then you basically get a legal out to use deadly force.
Yes, exactly.
Unless there is a bunch of video evidence and that gets, held up against that.
Yes, and that's the thing. Whether it's ICE and then DHS and then JD Vance, they all have, again, created a story that did not happen. So, in conclusion, for this JD Vance Corner segment, I agree with Donald Trump. JD Vance is incompetent, but so is all of DHS and ICE as well.
Yo, I can't believe that's so good.
I'm blown away by the ironic fact that they were in an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
Immigrant-based cuisine.
Most of these guys are not even getting served.
I mean, they should be bringing their own granola bars or something.
Granola bars?
And they're going to no place is open. I wonder why. Yeah. It's like, I have one guess for you because you're here.
I hope you all get hangry. So the JD Vance also thing reminded me of when they announced him at, or when it was the convention.
The RNC, I was there.
Remember?
Covering it for LPN Patreon.
When Trump was even like in the stands or something with his like little tampon on his ear or whatever.
Right.
JD was there, but he like never like shook JD's hand. He never like gave him any like love or anything like that. He was just like, this guy, what an idiot. Like this guy.
Right.
You could just tell he just gave him not the time of day at all.
Well, and that's still the rumor mill is that JD's the fall guy for everything that doesn't work with this administration.
Everyone will be the fall guy.
Well, but like we've talked about, someone like Ted Cruz or Ron DeSantis can pop in and try to get the nomination in 2028 and say, yo, JD stood by while all this stuff was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was right or whatever, But then also they always try to out-mag each other. So, JD, maybe he is the incompetent guy Trump needed to just blame everything on and then swap out the ticket in 2028.
I don't know if the young MAGA bros are going to like that DeSantis has lifts in his shoes. And he has those heels.
DeSantis also doesn't have the juice.
Yeah.
I mean, you see him in front of a crowd of people in 2024.
Forget a crowd, even a small group of people. He's a robot.
Yeah, it's just like no one has that personality.
Yeah.
For all of Trump's faults, and Lord knows there's a bunch, he's got the juice. He's good in front front of a crowd. Yeah. He can sell them. I mean, he's sold them a whole boatload of goods on this one. So we'll see what happens. 2028, unfortunately, is just around the corner.
It doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's 100 years away.
And also right around the corner. I mean, after the midterms, you're going to see Democrats and Republicans, everyone's going to start announcing.
All right, guys. foreignreportshow.com, theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. Check us out on the socials, on YouTube, subscribe, and all that wonderful stuff. Travis, thanks.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for all the nice comments.
Yeah, and Adam, thank you for this beautiful studio.
I know. I love how
Thank you, LPN, for the beautiful studio.
Yeah. I love
a wide shot.
Love a wide shot. And you've made yourself at home.
Yeah.
Look at us.
I know exactly. I'm way too comfortable.
Enjoy the pants while you can, because shorts are coming in a few months.
I have to make sure I don't wear boxers.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.